Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Our guest goes from unpaid intern to Grammy success, and his journey could be yours. We'll introduce him to you in a second. But first, with the end of summer comes the final three winners of the Warm Summer Audio Giveaway. Some folks are about to win their choice of one of these great condenser mics from Warm Audio. The final winners are from Italy, Domenico Orlando, from Canada, Ryan McDougall, and from Spain, Christian Bonet Mena. Congratulations to you three, and also congratulations to all the winners from all over the world prior. And big thanks to Bryce Young, Royce Richmond, and the Warm team in Austin. We are big fans of the product.
Big fans.
And even more fans of the people. More coming from Warm soon. We've got a bunch of upcoming goodies you can win, and if you want to know about that, sign up for our newsletter if you would. All you cool folks out there, hit like and subscribe, and click notify as well if you will. And DP, sounds like you got an ITL for us. What do you have?
I do. I've got 7 reverbs that I find very useful in the hip-hop world. Check them out. Tell me what you think. Lately, I've been hearing so many really inventive uses of reverb, particularly in the hip-hop world. Cats like Jay and Mike and Fabian and a slew of younger guys are coming along and really doing some cool things. So I was working on this song, Hole in Our Hearts, by an artist named Messi, Eric Capone. And I wanted to give it a unique reverb. I didn't want to copy what I've already heard, although I'm not against doing that, but I didn't need to at this point in time. And so I wanted to get something unique, and this is what I came up with. I kept trying different reverbs. I've got 7 reverbs here, and I kept trying different ones, and then I was like, man, what would it sound like if I just used them all? And this is what it sounded like. So in context, let me give you the context. Smoke out your mouth. Take a good hard look at yourself. You got a pile of sun. It just really gives it a vibe. This is without it. Smoke out your mouth. Take a good hard look at yourself. You got a pile of sun. With it. Smoke out your mouth. But Dave, do you really need 7 reverbs? Well, no. But if you got 7 reverbs, might as well use them, right? Reduce my carbon footprint. I'm gonna go through one of these. I'm gonna go through each of these one at a time, and because one of the reasons I titled it 7 Hip Hop Reverbs is because they work by themselves. So here's the first one. Smoke out your mouth. Smoke out your mouth. Second one. Smoke out your mouth. 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 All right. Now you heard each one. I'm gonna run through this really quick. This is this one. Just the Echo Sun. Pretty amazing. Then the second one, the Fab Filter one. H Delay, one of my favorites. Pro R Reverb. and Vintage Valhalla, 3 reverbs. So the way I combine them is pretty cool. Now, this one I didn't want a lot of the high frequency information coming through. I wanted the dark information to come through. So there's this guy again. So that's when we used it there, and that's what the settings for there. And then that's going into mangle verb. If you don't have this, it's really, really useful. I find I'm using it a lot. It's not a traditional sounding reverb, but boy does it sound good. It's based on a guitar pedal that Eventide made. Now, on this one, this is Echo Boy. We're all familiar with that. And I wanted this one to have more dynamic, so you can see how much I've raised the MV2. That gives us a little more upward compression. And then feeds into our old pal D-verb, Q2, and Futzbox. Futzbox is, can't beat it. You need to master this plugin. It's really useful. Then on this one, we're compressing with a Renaissance compressor, probably the Swiss Army knife stranded on an island, and you can only have one plug-in to compress with. It would be this one. And then Altiverb, and this is a cool setting, the EMT 140, one of my favorite emulations of a 140 plate. And then into H delay again, Pro Q3. Now this one, our old buddy, the EMT 250, one of the original reverbs, if not the original reverb, Q3, just using the top stuff, and a little bit of color out of the Sans amp. I like to call this the Chad Blake plugin. This reverb is kind of underutilized. Took me a second to really kind of get the full usage out of it, but it's worth spending the time with. I highly recommend H-Verb by Waves. And then I'm sending that into this. I'm going to turn around and talk to my assistants, Nico and Jaime. Was that the free one?
No.
Oh, Ubermod's the free one. Okay, this is very affordable though. And this is a great preset for adding to the tails of reverbs to kind of get a little bit of movement. In the early days of digital reverbs, they were actually a bunch of tight space delays. In order to convert it to a reverb, they would modulate it and smear it so that it sounded like one continuous sound. But really, up until some of the more modern reverbs, that was the way a reverb was constructed. It wasn't actually an emulation of anything. It was just real tight space delays, and the modulation kind of tricked your ear from hearing a lot of those. So it's a sound we've grown to love, and just like guitar sounds and everything. You know, the first ones that come along tend to be what we always use as the benchmark for what sounds good, and this can help you. So copy that one. Very affordable. And then this is a plugin that not a lot of you guys know. It's by Kush Audio. And Greg over there came up with this. He was traveling around and he ran across a gold foil plate, and he thought it really sounded great. So this is his take on it. And if you know Greg, you can see why there's a lot more knobs than just the knobs on a gold foil plate. But I love this. It's got so many controls, and it can just make a mix come alive. So. That's what we got. Check it out. I know I went kind of fast, but you know, you can always stop it and copy it, take screenshots and stuff. And there you go. 7 really cool reverbs, I hope. We'll see you.
So our guest turned an unpaid internship into gigs with Kendrick Lamar, Ariana Grande, DJ Khaled, Nipsey Hussle, and on to Grammy success. Please enjoy our conversation with returning Musicians Institute champ, David Kim. My new nickname for you is the Soul Man for a number of things. Like that. 1, where you were born, and 2, your philosophy about things. But as we get into it, one of the elements of your story that's so fascinating, which I think a lot of our audience hopes for, you literally did the school to unpaid intern to Grammy winner, right?
Yeah, man. That was a journey.
I mean, it's really amazing.
Thank you.
And you're returning home because the school you started at was Musicians Institute, where we are now, right?
Yes, sir.
So what you guys don't know is, as we were getting ready for this interview, one of the great people who helped run our show and so forth, came up to put a mic on him. And you said what? You was like...
He used to be the studio manager. He used to help us like rent out mics and things like that and go through protocols. And
he had blue hair back then.
And he had blue hair.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Sean.
Shout out to Sean.
So, man, the journey, along the way, it seems to me that you have adopted a thing of being very perceptive and open to how, like, the soft skills are as important as the technical skills. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
Man, humbling experiences. You know, like I used to be a hardhead. I used to, you know, run with the wrong crowd. I used to fight a lot. And I used to think that I was right in all situations. And then the first humbling experience is I got injured playing football. I thought football was going to carry me.
Right.
I don't know if it was realistic, but I broke
Offense
my back.
Defense?
Defense.
Yeah.
Middle linebacker.
I was going to say linebacker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I broke my back my senior year. And then from there, it was like, I don't know what else to do. This is all I wanted to do my whole life. That was my first humbling experience. My main tool was going, we got to repivot. You know, so I started thinking about, my family has a musical background. So, okay, let's go into this. I tried the college route and I hated it. And I enrolled into the Musicians Institute, and immediately, you know, I'll come home, like, Mom, today I learned this. And my mom's like, yo, you've never once in your whole life done that. And I was doing it for months.
Right.
You know, I graduated top of my class.
Nice.
I got out. I was on the top of the world. For 2 years, I couldn't find a job. Wow. Second humbling experience.
Yeah.
You ain't shit experience.
Right. Yeah. Plugin's called UAS.
Yeah. So every time I get to that point where I hit rock bottom, I'm like, okay, I got to recalibrate. What did I do wrong? What advice didn't I take? What could I have done better? And with every humbling experience, I learned that, you know, I can't do it alone. I have to listen to people that have done it. Like, I have to go look for information and be receptive to opportunities instead of thinking there's one path to do everything, you know?
Was Chalice where the internship started and where the growth happened?
Yeah.
How'd you get the job?
Okay. So after 2 years of being unemployed, mind you, in those 2 years, I was applying to Chalice and among other places, but every 3 months, maybe I'll submit an application. But I went on Facebook. I got tired of it. You know, I went on Facebook. I looked up Chalice Recording Studios, list of employees, and I just cold messaged them. One of them responded, Josh Sellers. Shout out to Josh. He responded. He was like, yeah, I can help you out. Like, we have a round of interns that are cycling out. You know, I'll put a good word in for you. So he basically pretended he was my friend, or I was his friend, and I got the interview, and from there it was
pretty amazing, right? Yeah. Is there a David Kim style that started at Chalice? Is that where your signature thing became, or do you have a signature?
What do you mean?
You know, like different engineers are known for different things, and you know, you've had a bunch of success. You know, Hit Boy and Kanye and Jay-Z, I mean, tons of things. When they hire you, do you think they're hiring you for a certain thing that you do well?
I think I've matched the vibe of the room very well.
Okay.
You know, I try to be as personable as possible. I understand studio etiquette and when not to talk, when to be really close with the clients. And the thing is, like, I grew up loving music. I love to dance. You know, and when that exudes, they kind of feel more comfortable with you. You know, I think my thing is I'm not the guy that just sits there and presses
that
record.
That doesn't work for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't work for me.
So
why you laughing?
just
it could happen.
Yeah. For me, it was like, you know, how into the music I got. You know, like I'll be bobbing. I'm doing drops and stuff as I go. So when we do the playback, it's like, oh, when'd you do that? You know, things like that. And I also relied on my speed. I learned a lot of things being an assistant and a runner. You know, anytime I popped into the studio, hey, how'd you do that? You know, like I remember Josh Goodwin was in a Chalice. He was doing Bieber sessions and I was sitting in the back. Every time Bieber got up and went somewhere, I'd be like, hey, how did you do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the key? And I'll write it in my phone, you know. And then after hours, the cool thing about Chalice, Sandra, our studio manager, she would let us get into the studio.
Her next time you see her.
Yeah, she would let us get in when they're not booked. So we had a chance to practice and things like that. And, you know, by the time I got my shot, I felt like I was ready
to go.
Can you condense in a paragraph what it takes to go from school to getting a job at Chalice? Persistence is number one, probably. But what other things can you share with our audience? Not just things to do, but things not to do to get to that spot.
The things not to do, you know, don't be too persistent. Don't be needy. You know, don't show up at the door every day. And that might work, but it's a turn off to most, you know, big studios.
What was the one thing that pushed you over the edge in terms of them liking you and wanting to hire you? They knew nothing about you.
Yeah. At first, I think it was a thing that they didn't like. I was really goofy and I was, you know, out there. And, you know, they're like, maybe that's not what we need from an intern. And I learned to control that and you know, determine when to speak out and not. But in the beginning, it was kind of like, I'll try to be friends with everybody, you know? And I don't know, I think that got me a lot of connections and it could have been bad though.
But that's my illusion at the top of the interview to Soul Man, because when you learn that you like connecting to people, you also learn when to do that, when not to do that. And when you hone that skill, for those people who appreciate it, that's why I think sometimes we do live conversations or even on the show, I think we both try to make sure people don't forget that it's not just how good you are technically or your mastery of plugins or whatever the case may be. If you can't interrelate to somebody, because I mean, you guys have different approaches, but your job would be, how do I relate with both those approaches?
Right.
Goofy up or goofy down?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it depends on where you turn. You know what I'm saying? Don't you think that's real?
No, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's something that sometimes people who are learning now, particularly some who are self-taught, they don't get that lesson from somebody like you who has now taken that approach to Grammy level.
Yeah.
What was your big commercial breakthrough?
I did a couple of the DJ Khaled ones. My first mixing gig was James Blake's Color and Anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it wasn't really, I didn't really mix it. We just got such a good sound that they sent that to mastering. Like after we recorded the piano and kind of got a rough mix, he was like, all right, that's it. That's gonna be. Okay. Yeah, and then shout out to James Blake. He put me as a mixer on there. And then between that and then the next mixing gig was a couple of years. But, you know, like I just tried to do like whatever I had, I would do the best of to the best of my ability, you know.
Do you think that attaching yourself to Hit Boy, someone that was already known and making yourself invaluable to him, do you think that's something everybody should try to do? Like you've got Ali and Kendrick, you got so many relationships. It's a tried and true, has been in the past. Do you think it's still valid to try and look for someone that you can come up with?
I think looking for it is a wrong approach. Okay. Because when you're around these opportunities, one will present themselves. It's about being in those opportunities and just killing it every single time. The thing that got me noticed with Hit Boy is I went on a run for him to Chick-fil-A. This was the fastest Chick-fil-A run of all time.
Ever.
Of all
Historic.
time. Came back, he was like, wait, I didn't even know you left, kind of thing. Like he was in a restroom, came out, and Chick-fil-A was there, you know? And then his manager at the time was like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm an engineer, you know, got my number. A year later, he hit me up to come to his house studio. Yeah. See, it doesn't happen instantly either, you know, like you just have to be present for the opportunities, I feel like.
And sometimes you don't even know the opportunity is going to be an opportunity.
Yeah, if we're so focused on like emailing these managers and trying to get in these rooms with these artists, that might not be the right approach to get to them, you know? It can be something simple as getting food for someone that gets their attention. And like I said, like I think you shouldn't be looking for it, but when it presents itself, you should always
be ready.
Going gung ho. Yeah.
Did your ear is your ear developed for hip hop mostly? Is that?
Yeah, definitely.
That's your thing?
Yeah.
Because of the way you grew up? Is that
Yeah.
okay? Got it.
But you like so many analog instruments. How do you justify that?
Well, being at Chalice for so long, there were sessions that I didn't have a choice to do or not to do. So, you know, we would mic up rock bands. I did something on DNCE's album. You know, I worked with all genres. So that kind of prepared me for whatever comes in the future. And like, my mom, she's a self-taught singer and a pianist. And now she's a conductor at her church.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she had no musical background growing up. She started her music career at like 40, you know. And now like she just performed at the Walt Disney Hall last weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Joy Kim.
Joy Kim?
Yeah.
Shout out to Joy Kim. Congratulations.
So cool.
Congratulations on your work and your work.
Yeah.
So Nipsey Hussle, how did that relationship come about?
It was through Hit Boy. We were, he was working with Hit Boy a lot at the time. You know, Roddy Ricch came and laid down the hook beforehand. And when Nipsey came in, Hit Boy played him the song with the hooks. And it instantly resonated with him. And over the course of a couple of days, he started recording the song. And
that was the last big single, right?
Last big single.
Wow.
Yeah. So like at the end of the session, the recording session, you know, this is something I've never done before, but I had to ask him if I can get a shot. You know, like normally he goes to whoever, but I wanted to at least get the opportunity. So, you know, I mustered up the courage to be like, hey, Nip, like, I know you don't usually do this, but can I get a first pass? You know, if you don't like it, no charge, no hard feelings, but I would like the opportunity because I felt the energy in the room. You know what I mean?
This was Rax on Radio?
Yeah. Yeah. Rax in the middle.
And he gave you the shot.
And he gave me a shot. He booked Studio B at Chalice, you know, the next week. We got in there 4 or 5 hours. He wanted to mix on the SSL, and normally I do it in the box. But since I've done it before, you know, I went in there. I kind of stem mixed over like 16 tracks. And then he came in and he almost like loved the first mix. He had maybe 1 or 2 tweaks, but we just sat in there, repeated it 1,000 times. He had his friends come in, like the game came in, Hit came in, you know.
And you were dancing like crazy?
I was trying to keep it cool. Yeah. Okay. I was trying to keep it cool. So,
and real quick, the kick and bass on that is it a bass or an 808 bass?
I think it's like in between it. It's more of a bass, and then
how'd the clarity between the two, was that an effort? Because it really sounds great.
Yeah, I sidechained, but I multiband sidechain. That's something I learned from you. Yeah, that's something I learned from you. You know, like I cut out like 100 hertz or 120 hertz in the 808. So whenever the kick hits, it just took that.
So this means I get mixed credit?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
we need to
just checking.
We need to go back.
You get a commission, Herb.
What's that?
You get a commission.
Great.
Yeah, man.
Man, good stuff, you know. Sometimes the good guys do win and come in first, you know.
And I hope to think so, man. Eventually.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, if you really, you know, look, I mean, what you guys don't know is when Dave came in, he had a video guy following him. So to go from used to be a fighter and going down the wrong path to now here you are, and you, couple things in that Soul Man illusion. One is obviously your attendance, well, where you're born, and your adherence to soft skill stuff. But I think also the fact that you care so much about education and making sure people that you give back and so forth. Tell us about that and also where that came from. Is that an important thing to you? Yeah.
When I was coming up in the game, I don't feel like I had a lot of access to that kind of information other than from you. It was literally, you know, there's only so many episodes you can watch, and you're just waiting for the next one to come out. But in the meantime, you want to do all these things to your mix, and you don't know how to get there. And You know, a lot of engineers will be short about information, you know, about sharing information. So I had to experiment a lot and spend hours and hours in the studio. And I want the next generation to level up. You know what I mean? To be able to do something that I wish I could have done at that time. Because that moves the progression of music and mixing and engineering.
Sure.
Because the more time we spend trying to do just enough, the less time we can be extra creative and push the bounds and take bounds and leaps, you know?
And the worse the quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, obviously we support that and would help you any way possible. Are you taking something back to Korea soon?
I'm doing a seminar in Korea end of October. It's gonna be like I guess it's just me. It's like a workshop / seminar. Me talking about my story, talking about relationships between artists and engineers. I think in Korea, from what I hear, engineers and artists are very, very cut. It's a professional relationship where they get in, it's the engineer is the director of the studio. Like, do it this way, do it that way. And like, I feel like, you know, it's a team sport. I played sports my whole life, and I understand that the producer, the songwriter, the artist, the engineer, we all have to be on the same page and try to get the best product out possible.
Right.
And sometimes there are egos in between where one person wants to do a little more and wants to get a little bit more shine. And you know, I want to, you know, reiterate that we can really achieve more together. Yeah. You know?
What are the ones we hear about? What's the preponderance, the popular music in the Korean community? Because I know the community is important to you, right? So hip hop is there, K-pop. What others? Is it just anything that's every place?
In Korea, ballads are really, really big.
Really?
You know, they have like all the Korean drama. Korean drummers are huge, like worldwide. They got subtitles in every language, and the soundtracks for those, like they're really sappy, you know, violence. And everyone's classically trained in Korea, you know, like we all grew up playing instruments, piano, violin. I played a little violin. I played a little trombone.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that kind of music is still there, but right now hip hop is king, you know, like K-pop is where the big money is. But hip hop is what everybody's dabbling in. That's shifting the whole culture.
For those that don't know, something like BTS, how that's structured is it has a bit of a corporate feel to it. So they hand select and audition people. And then tell me if I'm wrong, but they isolate some of those kids and they don't get to see their families and they just have to practice. Is that true? I mean,
they're basically
process.
raised in this environment for a boot camp, basically. So from when they're young, they live in this house together. They have their manager wake them up 5 a.m., work out. They determine what they eat. A lot of them, you know, are just not happy in the situation, but that's what they dreamt of. So it's kind of like you settle for your dream.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think I saw a documentary where some of the young ladies, some of the young girls, that's what they were living for, is to do that. But man, you see BTS on Saturday Night Live and you're like, oh my God, this is incredible.
That's similar to, this might be for some of our audiences.
The guy in Orlando?
Well, yeah, the boy band thing here was very much similar to that. And I know I've seen information where even Korean athletes or golfers or so on and so forth, that kind of strict training, discipline thing.
Micromanaged.
Culture, right?
Is that a good, from your perspective, and I have no opinion on this, but from your perspective, is that healthy or is that?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so, because you're doing what someone wants you to do. And it's not your creativity that's being harnessed. You're reading off a prompt. You know, you're acting off a script. And eventually you lose your identity. You know, you get out of these bands and all of a sudden nobody's paying attention to you anymore.
It's dangerous.
And then it's like, who am I? You know, what do you do from there?
Yeah.
you have nothing you took from it. Yeah.
Is there? I'm not trying to be flippant or funny, but is there ever a situation? Huh?
That would be a first.
Yeah, truly, it's a touchy subject. But is there ever a time when a Justin Timberlake emerges from a particular boy band or something?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. From what I've seen, there's,
So it can be a stepping stone.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean necessarily a stepping stone to success, but not necessarily to happiness.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just my opinion. But out of those boy bands or girl bands, there's always like one or two, people that make a whole lifelong career out of it.
Right.
Endorse their whole life and things like that. But
And about 10 years ago, I was doing a lot of stuff with J.Y. Park and a couple of other people, and the packaging for the group is like nothing you've ever seen.
Amazing.
They found a way to make nothing look incredible. Like the packages are like little things, and they slide out, and they got like this many photographs. And if you're a fan, you
go crazy for that.
Yeah, it's incredible. And they'll do 4 songs, 5 songs, and sell those for a lot of money. I mean, it's a wonderful system that America should think about,
Their system, they got the system
They got it down.
Yeah. I've gotten like gifts, so they come in books, but they're like albums, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole magazine, published book. It's got posters in them, it's got stickers in them, and then they have the album in the front cover and in the back.
Beautiful.
Perfect, yeah. It's top notch. Everything's top notch, and that's what they really bank on. I feel like the merchandising and like the whole fan aspect of it.
From some of the bigger records that you've worked with, whether it was Jay-Z or Kanye or whatever the case may be, any lessons that changed you along the way? Things that you learned from a superstar level just by being in a room that changed who you are or grew your craft?
Great question.
Yeah. I think the human aspect.
Human or technical?
Where growing up, we look up to these people and we feel like they're not the same as us. But you get into the studio with them and you realize they are people. They feel like us, they hurt like us, they love like us. And that kind of breaks down that barrier that you have, and once you realize that it's more, it's easier to be relatable. It's easier to bring out what they want to, like the message they want to in their song through a mix or through the recording. And I feel like a lot of times in the beginning, I had a lot of fear getting in these sessions with big artists because it's like, oh man, they're my idol. I had a session with Nas one time. This was the first time I got really starstruck. I was literally, my hands were shaking, and I didn't want to just explode and be like, oh my God, you're the reason.
People.
Yeah, he's so humble, he's so nice, and he's 20 plus years in the game, And like, at the end of the day, I realized, hey, like, we're just people, and the more I act weird, it's
right.
He can't act like himself.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely. What do you work inside? What's your DAW?
Pro Tools.
You're a Pro Tools guy?
Yeah, Pro Tools guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Are you a big software guy as well too?
Yeah, I try to learn every DAW.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Every plugin as well?
Yeah, I love plugins.
Is that right? Any what's your favorites? Any go-to things?
These days, I've been using a lot of isotope stuff these days, and like more and more UAD.
We all are.
Yeah, the isotope stuff is just amazing.
It's
like,
really good stuff.
Yeah, the isotope, the Ozone 8 imager, I use on a lot of things. Yeah. That's another thing I learned from you is like widening bass and 808s and stuff like that, in parallel.
I think we should maybe work out a shared credit or something.
Should just have half of what I get.
Who knew people were listening to me? That's the shocker
no,
here.
Trust me, people are listening to you, man.
You said that music is all about collaboration. Music is collaborative. Can you expand on that? How does that relate to us?
A well-placed engineer or a good engineer in a room with a great producer and songwriter will inspire them to do things that they normally wouldn't do.
Say that again. I like the sound of that.
A great engineer in a room with a great producer and songwriter will inspire them to do things that they usually wouldn't do. It's almost like a competitive drive between everybody where, you know, you'll do something amazing and then they'll want to do something amazing because they feel the selflessness and that everything is aligning towards one goal. You know what I mean? Like,
That's pretty amazing.
Something an engineer does to a beat might inspire a songwriter to write something differently. You know, if you chop a beat a certain way, they might stutter a line and it might become a hook. You know, things like that where collaboration is everything. There's been so many sessions I'm in where the song is all 50%, 60% done and then one producer adds one thing. Oh my God, the engineer sits down and then does something else, you know, and then takes off from there. And I feel like that's how you get something to that next level. Yeah.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to leave room for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Like Quincy said. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So do you still work at Chalice?
I have my own room at Chalice.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
From
Full circle,
from
man.
Musicians Institute to your own room at Chalice.
I used to pick up cigarette butts there, man. Like,
unreal.
there's so many crazy stories.
What's coming up for you? What are you working on? Because this is your warm up period as an athlete before you go into batter's box.
Yeah.
So I'm letting you stretch and stuff because you have to knock his block off.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to.
What are you working on coming up?
I've been working on a lot of like Korean projects.
Oh, have you?
Here and there.
Gotcha.
I just mixed Kamaya's album. That should be coming out soon.
Nice.
I just mixed Pilo's project. I'm not sure if you guys. He's a really good guy. Client turned friend.
Cool.
You know.
Will you ever go outside the hip hop genre and mix stuff?
Oh
with
yeah,
people?
for sure. I'm down to do anything
Just need a
because
call.
I love to learn.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I like learning while I'm working, and like I love getting notes back because that tells me something outside of my box. You know, through mixing with clients in the room, I learn a lot. Where they go, try the delay this way, you know, and I'm like, all right. It's like, wow, I'm gonna use this from now on.
What mixers do you look up to? Who's in your Mount Rushmore list?
Dave, Fabian, Ali, Jason,
Manny.
yeah, Manny, of course, by default, man. Like that's my Mount Rushmore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's a good list.
Oh,
Josh.
I really love what Josh and James Royo do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And James and Josh have been, you know, helpful to me
I think
in
Josh
my
is
career.
amazing.
Yeah, they're both amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So you're, what other sports? Linebacker in football? What else?
I play a
some
lot of
hoops.
basketball, yeah.
You
I'm
look
in
like
a
you got
league,
handles.
local
You got
league.
No?
I got a little jumper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good job. Rebound, hit the boards?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
done?
cool.
I used to.
You play physical.
Not anymore.
You play
Yeah.
physical. Though.
I like getting it.
Yeah, I can tell. Well, linebacker. All right, so physical, jumper, all that kind of stuff. Got a little speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, your first step is good?
Yeah.
I can
Good
tell.
first
All right,
step,
so
yeah.
hops and speed. Here we go, batter's box.
I mean,
Let's
that
go.
counts in baseball.
Speed, though.
Stereo bus.
Compression.
Limiters.
Pro L2.
Vocals.
Massenburg MDW5.
Right answer. Reverb.
Lexicon 224.
Saturation.
Crane Song Phoenix.
Yeah.
My favorite.
808s.
Parallel.
Piano.
Wide.
Harmonies.
Vocal line.
Bass.
I've been liking Voice of God lately, but with a warning.
Vocal line. That was a great answer. That caught me off guard. Okay. What's the cheapest piece of gear you used on a well-known record?
On a well-known record.
Or it can be anything.
There's some stuff I produced for the Korean artists. I've used a zipper for a swell in, for like a reverse impact kind of fill.
Like a zzz.
Yeah, did that, and then added some white noise on top, and then verified it in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I think maybe a zipper.
That's pretty cool.
That's
I've
like
never
a
heard that
super-
answer.
No, they got a lot of unique answers.
Yeah,
Great
absolutely.
job. I concede defeat.
So I understand we're going to have a little competition with Pensado's Place. That there's, whenever you see inspired by, you have to check into that and see what it is. So your giving back process takes you as far as you start your own YouTube channel and show. Tell us about it.
So the YouTube channel is all up in the mix, and like I said, inspired by Dave himself. It's not competition; it's supplementary. You know, the really beginner stuff, like the things for people that want to get their feet wet. You know, and all the things that I've learned in 2019, like being in recording sessions these days. How I see a shift happening, and I want to segue people into that new wave.
There's a need for that.
And then what episode are we on?
Sure, I have one tutorial up, man. Like it's tough. I don't know how you guys did it.
This is 400 and whatever. It is tough.
Crazy.
People don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot
It
of work.
is.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
work.
but it's something I'm passionate about. Man.
Oh, good for you.
I want to get it. I want to
Good.
get it right.
We
If I
welcome
can help in any way, let me
all
know.
that. Yeah,
Thank you so much, guys.
We're happy
Appreciate
to help you,
y'all,
for sure.
real.
Absolutely. You tell me if this is true.
Yeah.
Relatability, not losing your humanity, giving back,
Yep.
staying in touch, coupled with being really good at your craft,
Yes, sir.
being curious, learning all the time. Is that the combination that works?
Yeah, that's
'Cause,
my
I mean,
philosophy.
You
man.
literally came out of this campus and have gone on to Grammys and superstars and doing things. But what's fascinating, and thanks so much for the kind words of the show. It also feels to me like you haven't changed, even though I just met you.
Yeah,
You know, whatever mom and dad gave you and made you David, you've maintained that all the way through.
Yeah,
And
I think more than anything, I let down my guard. I let my true self
Come out.
I became comfortable with myself. You know.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting point for the audience. And Dave, you should take us home.
You said early in the interview that you can't do it alone. I think that's so true for all of us in the creative space, because if nothing else, it's hard, just as hard to tell when you've done something right as it is when you've done something wrong. And both have their uses and both have their importance. But don't try to go it alone. I started with a guy named Larry Turner, and we came up together, and it made the journey so much more important, even more important than the destination. So don't go it alone. Get somebody that you trust, and just have fun on the pathway, because it's music, man. It's a gift from God, and that journey is more important than the destination. In fact, sometimes I feel bad about finishing something because you have to turn it loose again.
Yeah,
I should have
exactly.
said that in front of her. We'll see you next week.